What is going on, everybody? I hope you all had a good week, and happy October 1st. In my opinion, it's the best month of the year. We have the NHL regular season starting in a little under 2 weeks. NHL 22 The Game comes out around the same time. Also, the All or Nothing documentary on the Toronto Maple Leafs from this past season released today. I'm interested to hear how many of you guys are going to check that out or have watched it already. I'm definitely going to give it a watch after I'm done uploading this video. I just love that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, since we are getting so close to the start of the 2021-22 regular season, I thought today would be the perfect time to start my season standings predictions for the upcoming season. I do this every year, and this year I'm going to stick with the same format that I did last year, where we go division by division, break it up into 4 videos. That way I have a little bit more time to give my reasoning as to why I have a team finishing where I have them. And as I'm sure you guys could tell, today we're going to be starting off with the Pacific Division, which is widely regarded as the weakest division in the league heading into the 2021-22 season, so that's kind of why I figured we'd start off there. So not wasting any more time, getting right into this, the team I have finishing in the 8th spot in the Pacific Division is the San Jose Sharks. This shouldn't really be a big surprise to anybody. They've been on a pretty drastic decline over the past 2 seasons. They have an aging core, a lot of really bad contracts, and they're going to be losing a player who was arguably their best forward this past season in Evander Kane. He's not going to be starting the season with the team at least. Their goaltending situation definitely got a little bit better, going from starting last season with Devin Dubnyk and Martin Jones to starting this season with James Reimer and Aiden Hill. I mean, honestly, it's kind of just addition by subtraction there. They gave up the 3rd most goals against per game this past season. They were in the bottom 10 teams in the league in terms of goals for per game as well. They aren't a good offensive team. They aren't a good defensive team. It would have to be a pretty drastic turnaround if this team wants to get anywhere near a playoff spot. Could I see a scenario where the San Jose Sharks do not finish last place in this division? Sure, but if they're not finishing last, I feel like the highest they're going to finish is 7th. If they finish any higher than 7th, I'll honestly be pretty surprised. Moving on now to the team I have finishing 7th place in the Pacific. This also should not be a big surprise. I have the Anaheim Ducks. The only reason I have them finishing a seed higher than the San Jose Sharks and I don't have them last place is because they have John Gibson. When John Gibson is at his best, he is a top 5 goaltender in the league. He's a star that can steal you games on any given night, and that's just something that the San Jose Sharks don't have. However, in front of John Gibson, there's just not a whole lot there. The Anaheim Ducks are still rebuilding. They have some good young players. Max Comtois led the team in points this past season, and obviously the hope and belief is that Trevor Zegras develops into that star number 1 center and that Jamie Drysdale develops into that star number 1 defenseman, but both Zegras and Drysdale are still going to qualify as rookies this upcoming season. They aren't going to carry this team to a playoff spot or anything crazy like that. I feel like the Ducks still have a couple of seasons to go before we see them really get back to being a playoff contender, so I have them finishing 7th in the Pacific. Next up we have the 6th seed, and for me this is really where it got tough. I'm pretty confident in the fact that San Jose and Anaheim in whatever order will occupy the bottom 2 spots in this division, but then like spots 6 through 2, I think it's honestly wide open. This pains me to do because I feel like I'm a little bit higher on this team than most people, but in 6th place I have the Los Angeles Kings. I really like the offseason that they had, signing Philip Deneau and Alex Edler in free agency, bringing in Victor Arvidsson via trade. I feel like that's a really underrated pickup. This roster has all the makings of being a really good team. I'm just not 100% sure if they are ready to make that jump back into being a playoff team just yet. I think a lot of that is going to depend on the young guys. Quinton Byfield, of course, being the biggest one, Alex Turcotte, Gabe Vilardi, Rasmus Kupari, all those guys, Arthur Kaliev as well. They have so many good young players. If at least 1 or 2 of the names I just mentioned, not really including Gabe Vilardi because he's not considered a rookie anymore, but say if Quinton Byfield and Arthur Kaliev can both come in and have massive rookie seasons, have big impacts on this team, I think there's a chance we could see the Kings fighting for a playoff spot down the stretch. I'm just not entirely confident that'll happen yet. I feel like this team might still be 1 year away. I have my concerns about Jonathan Quick as a backup goaltender. He's been really bad the past couple seasons. Still have my fair share of doubts about their blue line. I feel like how good their defense is going to be comes down to how good of a season Drew Doughty has. So I have the Los Angeles Kings finishing 6th place in the Pacific Division, but I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I think they're going to be really competitive and maybe a little bit better than some people expect. Moving on now to the 5 seed in the Pacific Division, I have the Vancouver Canucks, a team that's coming off of an extremely extremely disappointing season in 2020-21. It is, I would say, excusable though because of the circumstances. They had the outbreak, obviously Pettersson missed a lot of time. They're going to be better than last year for sure. I don't think that's even a question. I really like their forward group, their top 9 especially. Like, there's potential that their third line could be Podkolzin, Pearson, and Jason Dickinson. That's a really good third line. It's a deep forward group. My biggest concern when it comes to the Canucks, and it's really my only concern, but it's a really big one, is their blue line. We still don't know what the deal is with Travis Hamonic, if he's even going to be playing for the Canucks this upcoming season. You look at their projected top 6, and they don't even really have a defenseman who was good defensively last season, and that's nervous. That's not English, but you know what I mean. Now, luckily, their goaltending tandem is projected to be pretty damn solid. Thatcher Demko had a good year last season. Yaroslav Halak feels like he has never had a bad season in his career. He's always just been very solid. There's going to be a lot of pressure on those guys this season. I think this is a team that's going to score a lot of goals, but also give up a lot of grade A chances, give up a lot of shots. So I have the Canucks finishing 5th place in the division, not making the postseason. I actually only have 3 teams from the Pacific making the playoffs. However, I could easily see a scenario where Vancouver finishes 3rd place in this division. Like I said, I feel like spots 2 through 6 are just wide open. Getting into the top 4 seeds now, finishing 4th place, so the final team from the Pacific that I have missing the playoffs is the Seattle Kraken. This is a team that's built to be competitive and to be pretty good right out of the gate. At first, we weren't so sure based off of some of the moves they made in the expansion draft, but after going out and signing the likes of Philip Grubauer, Jaden Schwartz, Alexander Wenberg in free agency, it was made clear that they want to be a team competing for a playoff spot. They have a very strong blue line. I would say their top 6 on the back end is the 2nd best in this division, only behind the Golden Knights. Seattle's back end is sort of the opposite of what I said about the Vancouver Canucks. How Vancouver doesn't really have a defenseman who was good defensively last season. Pretty much all of Seattle's defensemen are extremely responsible and steady defensively, and probably the strongest point of the Seattle Kraken roster is their goaltending. Philip Grubauer, a Vezina Trophy finalist this past season with Colorado, and Chris Driedger in Florida finished with a save percentage north of .920. Seattle is not going to be an easy team to score on. The concern when it comes to the Kraken is offensively. Where are the goals going to come from? They have a good amount of finishers, Jaden Schwartz, Jordan Eberle, Jared McCann, but do they have enough play drivers, enough players to set up those finishers? That's definitely the biggest question mark when it comes to this team. If Seattle can even just be an average offensive team, they're going to put themselves in a really good position, I think. I don't have them making the playoffs, but I think they're going to be pretty close. Now getting into the 3 teams from the Pacific Division that I have making the playoffs. In the 3rd seed, I have the Calgary Flames. Yes, it hurts losing Mark Giordano, who was the heartbeat of their blue line and really the heartbeat of that team for the better part of the past decade. I think they're going to be just fine though. Their blue line without Giordano is in okay shape. I think it's going to be competent enough, especially if Kirstanev can play the way he did this past season. Offensively, I think this team is in pretty good shape. They're going to have 3 scoring lines. I really like the addition of Blake Coleman. Say what you want about the contract, but he makes this team better, and I feel like they kind of needed a guy like Coleman in the locker room as well. I'm expecting a big season out of Johnny Gaudreau. It's a contract year for him. I'm sure he wants to get paid, whether that's in Calgary or somewhere else. I would say my biggest concern when it comes to the Calgary Flames is goaltending. Not their starting goaltender, Jacob Markstrom. When he's at his best, he's a top 10 goaltender in the league. It's what if something happens to Markstrom? Right now, their backup goaltender is Dan Vladar. They got him from the Boston Bruins, and he's a pretty unproven guy. He has 5 NHL games under his belt, and although he looked pretty good in those games, that's a very small sample size. Continuing on now, finishing 2nd place in the Pacific Division, I have the Edmonton Oilers. I really went back and forth. I almost put Calgary in 2nd and put Edmonton in 3rd, but it's the McDavid and Draisaitl factor. That's the only reason why I have them finishing 2nd place in this division. I think offensively, this is going to be an amazing team, one of the best in the league. Their power play should be one of the best as well. The Oilers are certainly not going to struggle to score goals. The question marks when it comes to the Oilers lie everywhere else. The blue line, how is Duncan Keith going to play at his age? Is he going to be able to give the Oilers the type of minutes they're expecting, the type of quality minutes they're expecting? Can Cody Ceci have another season like the one that he just had in Pittsburgh, or are we going to see the Cody Ceci that we saw in Toronto? And then the goaltending. That's to me the biggest concern when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers. Their starting goaltender, Mike Smith, is 39 years old. Yes, he's coming off of a fantastic season. I believe he finished with like a 922-23 save percentage or something like that, but the 2 seasons prior to last season for Mike Smith were pretty poor. Which Mike Smith are we gonna get? And honestly, you can say the same for Mikko Koskinen. He's a goaltender who has been extremely hot and cold basically throughout his entire career. He seems to either have a really good game or a really poor game. They're gonna score a lot of goals. The question is, can they keep the puck out of their net? If they're at least an average defensive team and get slightly above average goaltending, I think they're gonna be in really good shape. And now to finish things off, the team I see winning the Pacific Division in the 2021-22 NHL season, the Vegas Golden Knights. I honestly should have just started the video off by putting them in first place because, I mean, it's obvious. It'll be pretty concerning if they don't win this division. They finished last season tied for the most points in the regular season with Colorado. On paper, offensively, defensively, they are the most stacked team in this division. I guess maybe the one question you could have when it comes to the Golden Knights is how their goaltending is going to hold up now that they've traded away the Vezina Trophy winner from this past season, but I'm pretty confident Robin Lehner and Laurent Brossoit is going to be a more than capable tandem. The Golden Knights are going to win this division. They absolutely have to. So those were my Pacific Division standings predictions for the 2021-22 NHL season. I say this every time I make a prediction video. I'm going to say it again here. Those were just my opinions. You do not have to agree, and if you disagree, there's no need to go down there, get mad in the comment section. Just let me know what your predictions look like.